I think some of you guys have done domain and range before. It might have been in 8th grade. I don't know. Here's the big deal about domain and range. You're going to be stating domain and range the rest of the school year in Algebra 2. So for domain, remember domain are x values. Also remember x values are sideways movements. And the way that we're going to talk about sideways movement, it's always from left to right. And then domain is going to be on the flip side. So for domain, instead of x values, you know that it's your y values. I'm sorry, range. The flip side is the range. So for the range, we know it's the y values. And it's not sideways movement, it's vertical movement. And guys, it is always from the bottom up. And I'll show you what that means in a moment. 99% of the time, it's also interval notation. Okay, so here we go with this first example here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to state the domain and the range of this weird looking graph on the coordinate grid. So what we're going to do is we are going to scan the graph from left to right. So that blue line, that's my scanner. I'm going to scan the graph from left to right because I'm working with domain. So here's my scanner. I'm scanning, I'm scanning, I'm scanning. Boom. That is the first thing I land on for domain on the left side. It's an arrow. What do arrows mean? Right. So y'all, your domain for this graph starts at negative infinity. So I'm going to go ahead and start writing the first piece of it. Comma. All right, let me continue with my scanner. So I'm scanning the graph. There's where it crosses the origin, but I don't really care. I just care where it stops on the right side. Boom. There's where it stops on the right side. Remember, this is domain. What's the x value on that? 5. That's right. See how my scanner is touching the 5? I know the domain stops at the 5. What am I going to write after the 5? Bracket, y'all. It's a closed dot. Remember, closed dots are brackets. Okay, now we're going to do range. Range has to start at the bottom because it's in order from least to greatest. So now my scanner is about to scoot up from the bottom to the top. So here I am scanning. Right there. The first thing I land on is the arrow again. So my range is starting with negative infinity. So we're going to keep scanning up. And right there is where the graph stops. Now remember, I just care about the y value. What is my scanner in line with? The 2. So it's going to stop on the 2 with a bracket. So y'all on Tuesday on your test or quiz on Tuesday, if you take your pencil and do this, and I'm looking and seeing you do that, I'm pretty sure that kid's going to get that question right. So it's easy because I get to use these cool tools on the smartboard. Your pencil does the same thing. Use your pencil to scan it. All right, so that's that problem. Let's look at the next one. So on the next one, I already have the answer there for you because I forgot to erase it. But look at the picture. How come I don't have any infinity symbols in my answer? There's no arrows. There's no arrows. And why is everything with parentheses? Because they're open circles. They're all got open circles. So make sure you know how I got that because I accidentally forgot to erase it. So when I scan for my domain, remember you start on the left That's how I got the -5, because it's in line with the -5. It has a small domain. It only stops right over here on the -2. Guys, remember on your range, you have to start at the bottom because it's in order from least to greatest. So the lowest part of this graph, the graph starts on the -4 with an open circle, and it climbs all the way up to a +4. So that's the answer. All right, you guys try number 7. Can you try number 7? We'll save that for Monday. Looks good. Oh, there's an arrow, so I know there's going to be infinity on my answer. That's actually going to wrap up the domain and the range for both of them. I'm not going to have a bracket because it's an open circle. So when I scan it from the left, what's the first number that I end on? That's a -4. Good. When I scan from the bottom up, what's this number right here? It's a -1, guys. So your range, it almost looks like it's going to be the same. But remember, your range are the y values. So it lands on the -1 on the y-axis. All right, guys, we're almost done. I'm going to talk to you about this one, and then you're going to do that one. So let me back up on this one. The reason why I need to talk to you about this one is because we're going to have to convert it to inequality notation. We're almost done. We're about to wrap this up. Okay, so this question, it makes me write it in inequality notation and set notation. But guys, remember set notation just has those extra symbols. All right, so in order for me to start this, I'm going to write it in interval notation. My domain and range, I'm just going to jot down here because it's easier to write it in interval notation because that's what we do most of the time anyway. All right, here I go with domain. I'm getting my scanner ready. So when I start scanning, the first thing I land on is an arrow. So we know it starts with -infinity. So as I move all the way over, this graph stops on the 3, and y'all, that's a bracket. If you don't see an open circle, understand for it to include the number. So this is going to be -infinity with a 3 and a bracket. So that's going to be your domain. All right, for your range, let's go ahead and move this scanner if I can. We're scanning from the bottom up. So the lowest point of the graph is at a -2. And then when I climb up, I land on that arrow again. So it's infinity again. So this is going to be a -2 with a bracket because it's a closed circle. And that's going to go on forever because I've landed on an arrow. All right, so to write this in interval notation, to write this in inequality notation, Are your x's getting larger or smaller? Yeah, that's negative infinity. So I know that my x's are getting smaller. Smaller than what? 3? Are we including 3?
Smaller or equal to.
Oh, did I write it wrong?
Equal to.
Yeah, smaller or equal to. So make sure you put your line under it. And then y'all do this set notation. Just recopy it. Now we're going to do the range. Y'all, you can't write this because remember the range are the y values. Get your full credit on your tests and quizzes. Don't make a silly mistake like I would do. We got to write the letter y. Look at this range right here. Positive infinity. That means your y's are getting larger. So the y's are getting larger. What was the smallest it ever got? -2. And its part equal, you drew a bracket. So just recopy, but make sure you write your set notation the